today around Connected Components Workbench version 13. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Rob Willey and Lee Waldrop, who are going to be our presenters today. So Rob and Lee, it's all yours.
Thank you, Scott. Good morning. I'm Rob Willey, and welcome to our Tech Tuesday series. And this is what's new with version 13. To stay within our 30-minute allotted time, I'm just going to go ahead and get going, and Lee will take over the PowerFlex drives part later. So on the agenda, we're going to do an overview of what's new, and then we'll break it down into the individual sections in the Workbench area, the Panel View 800 enhancements and PowerFlex drive updates. We're also going to show some of those features. I think it's a lot easier to show than just to talk about it. And then at the end, we'll show some resources that are available from Rockwell. All right, so overall, version 13 did not introduce any new hardware. This is a cosmetic update and usability update. So there's been some improvements to download and build time, some changes made to run mode change, updates to the tags and quick declaration, some enhancements with the Logix design theme, improved copy and paste, and other new features that I'll show here a little bit later. On the Panel View 800 side, there is a new data entry for time. So this makes it easier to input a timer value without having to do any of the conversion data. There's been some more global tags added in animation configuration and multi-screen edit. So now screens are opened in multiple tabs. There's going to be a firmware release later this year that's going to add support for the newer 5069 compact Logix. However, this is only for the L306, so just for the smallest controller. On the PowerFlex side, there's been support added for the new 6000T medium voltage drive and the predictive maintenance using total force technology for the 755T. And the ability to print out the drive's parameters. Okay. All right. So what you're looking here in red is the build time and download time in V13 as compared to version 12. So on a large, medium, small, whatever the size of the application is, roughly about 30 to 40% improvement. Same thing here on the build when you're looking at variables and on the 50 runs. On run mode change, there's been some enhancements made on the workflow. And so typically, if this is available on developer edition, by the way, so the paid for version of CCW allows for run mode change. Some of you may know this in the Logix world as online edits. And so what happens is in the original mode, you would select run mode change. You'd go over to your ladder, make your changes, and then you would have to do a test, and you would test the edits, see if the running code is okay, and then you can go ahead and accept it, or you can go ahead and decline it. On this newer workflow, now what happens is you select run mode change, you make your changes, and then you just accept the changes. There's no testing, there's no declining. It's make the change and then let it go. And so that's a little bit of a faster workflow. I'll show you how to activate that feature. On the tag browser, a lot of improvements made, a lot cleaner, and the ability to browse down into bit level addressing, the ability to change the scope of tags that you're looking at, to filter out and to do search. So it's a lot easier to do. The biggest new feature is the one-click quick declaration. And this allows you to create multiple variables where you can add a prefix, a suffix, and then specify a data type. So really a lot of improvements made here. On the Studio 5000 Logix theme, what happens now is the icons are changed over to what looks like Studio 5000. Anything else in the application, if there's a PowerFlex drive or a PanelView 800 graphic terminal, that gets dropped. It's still saved in the file, but you have somebody that's more accustomed to using Studio 5000, since it's very controller centric, this is much more familiar to them. You can create your tasks, your interrupts, your routines, very similar fashion as Studio 5000. The ability to see, this is going to be really more of a future feature as time goes on. Rather than finding out before or after it's too late that a product is gone end of life, Rockwell has built into CCW the ability to see the status of a controller. This updates every 90 days, or you can access from the tools menu and you can manually update that product life cycle. And so that's there's no plans to discontinue any controllers here in the near future, but several years down the road, we may run into this, and so that's gives you more visibility into the status of that product. And then the last part is the find feature and the document generator. So find can give you hyperlinks directly to your program once you do a search. The document generator lets you export the program into a Word document so that you can easily document all your tags, your programming, and put it into a nice Word document, and then that can be printed out. So I'm going to flip over to CCW and show what this looks like. And so here we have the product lifecycle here if it's active. When I was talking about the first part about run mode change and these multiple buttons up here, to activate the faster online edits, there's this option here in the main controller called download source code, and you need to select no. When you hover over this informational bar, it'll tell you if you enable download source code, which is the default, then the run mode change is going to give you the option to test those changes and then accept the changes. Setting this to no will just allow you to accept the changes, so much faster edit time. All right, and then within the tags themselves, you can see now that it's much cleaner. The blue is gone, and you can drill down into your tags. And so if you have a value, we're going to switch over to the scope here, and we'll look at micro 800. If I have a value that is here in unsigned integer, I can look at each of the individual bits within the tag here itself. Another new feature that I talked about is the quick declaration. So if I'm in the tag browser and I want to create, let's say I want to create 10 timers here really quick, it's going to add a prefix. It's got some dummy proofing here. So here it's 0 to 9. Let's say I accidentally make this 20. Well, then it's going to increase this number because you can go before it, and we'll make that 29. We can add a timer or a suffix here to say timer. We can set our data type. We'll do a timer on delay. And here it gives you a preview of what this looks like. You'll hit OK. And now we've created our 10 timers here pretty quickly. And then on the filtering, let's say we want to do finding our timer value, and we want to look for a data type of TON. Here we can add up to 4 filters. So here there's comment, and after that is alias. You can go ahead and quickly filter out your tags. On the Logix theme, you're going to notice here on this left-hand side, there's a panel view, there's a PowerFlex, You'll see the icons here look for Micro 800. When I flip this over to Logix, it changes, and this will look more like a Studio 5000 file. The instructions themselves are pretty much the same, but it makes it more familiar here up here at the top, where you have your different symbols. The other thing I want to show is, if you aren't aware of this, you can go into Studio 5000, and here I'm going to highlight these 3 rungs. I'm going to copy, and I'm going to head over to my CCW. I'm going to add a rung here just to make it easier to right click and paste. I can now paste, and it'll create the tags that were out of Studio 5000, and then we can go ahead and double click here to create each of our tags. So it'll go through, and then you can just hit OK. It'll create those tags, converts the timer to the Micro 800 version of timer, and brought in the less than equal to. Yeah. All right. When you're creating a new controller file and we hit new, when I select a controller, it's going to tell you if it's an active product. As I said, right now, everything is active. You're going to notice that your firmware version remains at version 12, despite this being 13. And so there's really no new firmware update. This is backwards compatible with all the other Micro 800 controllers. You don't have to worry about firmware differences. You could just go ahead and upgrade your program, and away you go. Okay, and we'll look at the document generator, which is available under File. You'll have the controller selected, and then you can go ahead and select what you'd like to export, and then what document type generate, and then that can be viewed later in a Word document. The find, so if I'm in Programs, you can do a Control F to bring up the find, where I believe it's under Tools. It's under Edit, Find. Then let's see if I want to look up my counters and do a Find All. And what this will do is bring up all of my different counters. I get a hyperlink to look for it, and it'll take me right to it. So there's been a lot of improvements made on Find. That pretty much covers everything that's new on the Micro 800 side. What I'm going to do now is go back to what's new now with Panel View 800. And so the biggest enhancement has been the time data type entry. There's also the Object Explorer view, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a little bit. They've added more global tag connection to the existing system tags, animations now with some different memory tag settings, the ability to edit multiple screens, and the software support for the L3065069. This is yes.
Hey, real quick, there is a question in the chat, and the question said, did timers and counters get bit level addressing, LEDN, TT?
Well, so TT still does not exist in the Micro 800. So a TT would be a timer timing bit. So that hasn't been added to it. The timer still gives you the elapsed time and the program time. What I can do at the end of this is show Scott kind of drill down into that just to stay within our 30-minute time limit. So I'll go ahead and I'll address that here at the end, okay? All right. So on the time data type entry, what we're using is a string entry, and we can manually type out the format for timer, T, pound, and what time value we'd like to add. Or if you're more accustomed to the milliseconds, you can just type in 10,000 and it'll automatically convert it to 10 seconds. The Object Explorer view, so bringing out Object Explorer will give you all of the objects on the screen. You can choose to lock down an object for edit, so it'll hold its position. You can't make any changes to it. You can do a vibrate, so if you don't know what object it is that you're looking at when you select on the Object Explorer view, clicking on vibrate will actually cause the image to dance a little, just to call it out to you. On the global tags, they've added the ability to access the global tags, so you can choose a lot of the system tags now for global connections. The enhanced memory tag support. So now there's an advanced where you can create a memory tag that will have an auto change feature. You can set the rate that you want that auto change to increment. You can set the trigger if you want it to always trigger, or if you wanted to look at a trigger tag. So this can be useful for animations. Now what we'll do is we'll flip back over to CCW. And here, when I go to my panel view 800 app, here on this string entry, let me talk about properties here. So when I select this button, this is a string entry. I have set the data type for time data type entry to true. So this needs to be turned on for that timer value to be converted. I also have, I'm writing to my average timer tag, and I'm giving it the indicator so I can display what that timer's been set to. This is a string display, and I've also now have the average timer elapsed time. So I'm looking at the elapsed time, and I've also set this to the date time data type. And so now I'm going to remote connect to my panel view, and you'll have to excuse the discoloration. But right now what I have is I have my timer set to 1 second. You'll see it counting up, and it kind of clues you in what this data type looks like, how you can edit the timer. So I can select, maybe I want to make it 5 seconds. I can type in 5,000, and it'll update to 5,000. This will count up. But if I know that I want to do the longer timer value, maybe I want 30 minutes, I could do T pound 30M, which is for 30 minutes, and it will set the millisecond value to what is 30 minutes, and then this will continue counting up. And there's no data manipulation that needs to be done within your Micro 800 file anymore. This is just done all within the firmware of the panel view. Here you'll see this little milk jug that I have running across the screen. So every second it advances 1 pixel. And so we can look at how that's been accomplished when we go back into, we'll view our Object Explorer. So under View, you can pull out all Object Explorer. And here I have all of these on the screen, and so I can select, and you'll see it starts to highlight it. But if I can't see it, I can select vibrate, and it'll dance around for a second. So I can select image 3. I can lock that down so that I can't make any changes to it. So I can click on it all day long. It doesn't do anything. I can go ahead and unlock all if I need to edit it. But here you'll see my horizontal position has been set to this tag called animation. When I go into my tags, try it again, okay. When I go into tags, here I have memory, and I've created this tag called animation. And so from here, I can select advance and open up. I can create a min and max, which I've done 50 pixels and 300 pixels. I've enabled auto change, and then the rate that I can set, You can have it set to different time increments. Those are pre-programmed. And then you can set when you want this to trigger. I just have this always running. Looking at global connections, here we have additional source tags that we can use. So a lot of these system tags have been added now that you can use within global connections. So you can get access to the IP address, or if you need to get access to the contrast, OS, there's a lot more information that you can bring into the Panel View 800. So that pretty much covers what's new within the Micro 800 and Panel View 800. And what I'll do is hand it over to Lee, and he'll go over what's new on the PowerFlex Drive updates.
All right, thanks, Rob. All right, so like Rob said, I'm Lee Waldrop. I'll be doing the PowerFlex portion of this. So there's been several updates for the drive profiles since the release of CCW version 12. If you haven't been downloading those profiles, that's okay. As soon as you download CCW version 13, you'll have the latest drive profiles available, giving you access to Rockwell's current features for all of their drives supported by CCW. Next slide. All right, so the 6000T, CCW version 13 now supports the medium voltage 6000T, including a startup wizard. Rockwell has used the same architecture and the firmware found in the PowerFlex 755T and all of its different variations within the 6000T. This gives a similar experience with both drives, and it streamlines your programming and any training you might need to do. Basically, if you've done any work or training on programming the 755T in the CCW environment, you'll see a very similar experience with the 6000T. Next. All right, the predictive maintenance with Total Force technology. The predictive maintenance feature in CCW for the T-Series drives like the 755T and the 6000T are designed to help mitigate downtime. So the screenshots you'll see there, I can't go live with that. I can't fit a 755T or a 6000T in my house, and you have to be connected to one to get that screen on CCW. But the drive uses formulas that have been tested by Rockwell to calculate remaining life of the components within the drive. Components like the LCL filters, caps, fans are some of the components. You can even set environmental settings, so that'll be factored into the calculations for the remaining life of the components. On top of this, you can set alarms to let you know when a component is getting close to its suggested replacement time. The graphical interface through CCW will also display the catalog number that you'll need to order to replace those components. So all this is done to turn unplanned downtime, which no one likes, into planned downtime and to increase your machine's efficiency. Next. All right, and back by popular demand, the export parameters function that fell off for a few versions of CCW is back with this newly restated feature. You can filter the parameters for all non-defaults and print them, save them to a PDF or in an Excel file. You can print the entire list of parameters if you want, or save them all to Excel. If you print them all for, like, say, a 755, there's just under 1,500 parameters. It'd be about 32 pages. So might want to just stick with the non-defaults. But it's a great feature. It helps you back up your programs and might help you troubleshoot, give you a starting point, or in the chance that it fails to replace it, it'll increase your uptime by decreasing your downtime. So that's all I got, Rob.
Thanks, Lee. All right, I wanted to close this out, show you a couple of resources that are available. The first one from Rockwell Automation is what is called OnCourse, and this can be set up by your distributor. there are actually virtual applications hosted up in Milwaukee at Rockwell Automation, and hosting all kinds of different applications. And we can use this as a tool for training, or if you need help with just getting more experience on different applications. So here on OnCourse, there's 3 different applications that are available, and it gives you the ability to look at the programming, what was done to make this all work together. How do you talk to a drive? How do you talk to a servo? What does the panel view 800 look like? And so really it's a nice way to learn remotely on your own time, and give you some ideas on how to do some of these simpler applications. And then aside from that, at any time, on rockwellautomation.com, you can access the literature library. There's a great YouTube channel now on the CCW, all kinds of tutorials that are available if you'd like to do more drive integration, or do some basic motion profiles with our newer Kinetix 5100 servo system. So there's really a lot of things that you can do with Micro 800. It's really designed to be a standalone system. You're not doing distributed I/O, and you just need simple, low-cost control. This is a great control system platform that really added a lot of new features to it to give it a lot more capabilities than, say, 5 or 6 years ago. So I think we made it within our time limit, and if you'd like to stick around, I can kind of work with Scott to show some of the bit level addressing. If anybody else has questions, you can, again, chat them in. You can go ahead and ask, and I thank you guys for your time.
Okay. Hey, Rob, right now I do not see any questions being chatted in. So anybody out there that has a question, feel free to unmute yourself, chat it in, raise your hand. I'll call on you. However you feel it's you can get our attention, I guess. So are there any questions around CCW version 13? Okay, I don't see anything at this time, Rob. So for those that want to stay online, feel free. And Rob's going to go through and show some bonus material, right, Rob?
Yeah, there you go, bonus material. All right. So where am I using timers? I have some counters, but I'm looking at my time value and I expand this. You'll see you have a done bit, and then you also have this in bit. And so what I see people using, like to mimic the timer timing in your logic, it would look something like this. You'll have to excuse me because I'm kind of doing this on the fly. Because I'm within this scope and the timer is being used, I can do, I think I called it, yeah, TON1. And if I go to the end and put dot, I thought it was in, but I don't see in, so it might be the rising edge. And then same thing, TON1 dot. And so what this is looking at is I'm on the timer, it's enabled, but it's not done. This pretty much mimics your timer timing bit. So a little different, but that's how you can make that that same feature. And use this digital output. And so let's download.
Can you hear me, Rob?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I had my laptop closed. What was the second Q that I saw in the pull down?
Yeah, they have it in parentheses, and I'm not really sure why they have it twice. Let's see here really quick. Once this,
Yeah, I wrote, my program probably over a year ago and haven't thought of it since, unless I do a quick download once in a while. So I got to refresh my memory on how I even did any of this stuff. So
sure.
But I remember I did have an issue with not all the bits that the Micrologics had. So.
Oh, I just did a bad thing. I did a destructive bit, so this might not work the way it should. Let's see what triggers my timer up here. So if message enabled, and the problem is I have green light here tied to when my message. So this application is just messaging other Compact Logics, and so I need this. So I'll show you here. We'll access run mode change. Use a different output. And now, since I have that download source code on no, I just hit accept. Then it'll go ahead and push those changes into the controller. So now you don't have to do a test and then accept. All right. So if I go, I know it's not going to be super easy to see the timer going. Let's see, it's only set for 1 second. What I can do is push my start button here on my. Yeah, that didn't capture it quickly. But what happened was my output 19 kicked on for a second and then turned off. But that's how you can kind of get that. So these, if you're within the same scope of this program, you can get your tags that way. And then if not, you'd have to create a global tag. So it's actually not even possible to do that. It's not possible to access that because you can't, like, let's say if I were to create another ladder logic, I wouldn't be able. So just be aware of that. But that's how you can mimic that timer. Now you were asking about disconnect. It's interesting. This is taking longer today. That's always the risk with live demos, right? Because earlier today, this wasn't doing this. Hey, you're welcome, Mark. Any other questions, Scott?
No, I think I'm good. You can't address if it's in because the local global thing threw me off, and the panel view 800 doesn't address or pick up local tags, right? It's only global.
Correct.
That's still the case. Okay. That was another issue I remember running into. So
there is a way, if this doesn't cooperate with me, there is a way to actually set it up so that by default, global tags are what come up first. So when you go to create a tag, by default, it will put it in the global scope.
Well, that would be useful.
Yeah, so it's under tools and options. I'm gonna go ahead and just see if this is not.
Yeah, that threw me off because there were a lot of tags I had to copy and paste back over to global because I kept forgetting that they were local, or I thought I could use them as local, and then I needed them in another rung or another ladder.
Right. Give me just a second here. We'll bring this back up, and yeah, thanks for your patience for waiting until the end. We just wanted to keep that in the half-hour time frame.
No, no problem. I don't want to be a pain. I just remembered it as you're talking about new bit level stuff.
Yeah, so when I go into, and I haven't done this yet, when you install a new version of CCW, it kind of takes away those custom features that you've set. So you'd have to go back into tools, options, and I'm trying to remember, I think it's maybe it's the, no. Oh, here it is, preferences. Okay, so all right, maybe it's not. Wow, I cannot find it. Maybe it's in the IC languages.
Maybe they don't have it in the latest version anymore.
July 6th.
And maybe I'm not doing this right, but I know there is a way to do it. Now I'm just shooting with dynamite here. Boy, if they took that away, that's awesome. God, that might not be on there anymore.
Well, I know to look for it now, but
Yeah, but
I don't use this every day. So.
Yeah, I think if you're in, well, that's interesting. That's not there. But yeah, there was a way to default over to global. I don't know if they moved it somewhere else, but I'll have to look and see. So, all right. Well, yeah, thanks for attending.
All right. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
All right. Have a good one.